Hey guys, Jerry Opoka here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about day one of the 3 days of the funeral rites, rituals and things, and the why. Disclaimer, this is my understanding of it. This is my absolutely beautiful experience that I want to share. I've asked a few questions here and there as the preparations are done. I've spoken to different people. So depending on where they all are in a place of knowing, this is the information that I now have. I've picked some information all the way from South Africa, from West Africa, but a lot of it has been here in Buganda, and also especially because we have just had funeral rites done. So I was very keen, my eyes were very open, my ears, I wanted to be a part of everything. So this is my understanding. That means if anyone has anything that's contrary to what I'm saying, it's very important that you share, because this series is for learning. This series is for bringing back the glory that is our Africanness, and that is our African culture, and understanding that there is a deeper meaning and deeper value in this wisdom, that the God that created us in the different places that we come from knew exactly what he was doing, and we have to trust that. So day one in Luganda is called Okufulumya olumbe. If I translate that in English, it's like taking out. Okufulumya is taking out. Now we're kufulumyaing from the house. We're taking out olumbe. Olumbe is like the spirit of death, or the energy surrounding the death. It's almost like the negativity or the heaviness that is surrounding the death, the transition, or whatever it is. So that energy is being taken out of the house. And it could be a house, but I feel like symbolically it's just taking that negative energy out of our beingness, out of our lives, out of the homestead, out of, who we are and what we are. Because remember, in the first video that I talked about death generally, when this soul leaves the body is now completely dead, as opposed to when you sleep and the body is in semi-paralysis. Then when it comes back, it what's the word? It gives life. It's like the life force of the body. So if the body is completely dead, then that life force cannot revive it. That's number one. Number two, the body is not in the bed anyway. It's now lying somewhere else. But then the spirit keeps coming back to where it's used to coming and re-entering the body. So without that body, whether the bed, like in the Chiganda culture, the mattress has been put up, water has been put in the room, things have been rearranged, the woman has padded herself if it was her husband who died, this soul or this spirit soul is now in a state of confusion. There's mourning that's happening. It does not necessarily leave. And the belief is that we who are still living in this physical manifestation of the world have to help that soul leave this physical and fully get installed or live in the spirit world where they now belong. Basically go back there, especially if there's any heaviness that keeps them. Because one thing that's very important is that heavy energy does not go. It needs to be lightened to be able to cross over. And you find that funeral rites in the cultures that are very keen on this spiritual practice, funeral rites have to be done within a reasonable period after the death, because they know that that soul left hanging for too long gets frustrated, because it's like, listen, I cannot get back into my home, into my life, neither can I go and be whatever else. So back and forth, it starts to get frustrated, and that frustration when that spirit comes and keeps tapping on loved ones and saying, hey, can you help me? Can you free me? Like, I don't understand what's happening. Can somebody please guide me? That is what I, Jerry, believe causes a thing called anxiety. Anxiety that you don't understand why you're suddenly feeling afraid, like something is, like there's something that you need to do, but you don't know what exactly. So in my understanding, when we do this particular part of the ritual, Okufulumya olumbe, we're taking that anxious, heavy, low vibrational energy, confusion, and so on and so forth out, and allowing this spirit to fully go to where it needs to go and do the work that it needs to do. So this is what happens. So amazing. One, there is a person in the family who is very key to this whole arrangement, and that is a nephew of the home who is called Omujwa. Omujwa carries a great significance because they say Omujwa yamala ebibamba munju. Yamala, yes, yamala ebibamba munju. And what that means is that the mujwa is the one who can carry and release negative things out of the home. Do you see how much power and value a nephew carries? Otherwise, ordinarily, a nephew is just a child of, a brother, a sister in a home. But here now, a nephew carries huge significance. They help remove negative energy. They help move stuck energy out of the house, and not just about a death, but I think many other things. So one of the things that they do on that day of Okufulumya olumbe is a fire has to be lit, a bonfire, if you may, outside. It's called a choto in Luganda. I feel so good saying these things. But so that choto is lit by the mujwa, and he lights it the evening before. Obviously, the family knows that that is the day of the funeral rites, so they know that these funeral rites, rather this whole Okufulumya olumbe, that removing of that energy, has to be done before dawn. So at a certain point in the night, I don't know if it happens, if it's supposed to happen all night or only at a certain point in the night, the family gathers in the living room, and well, now we have living rooms. Back then they didn't have living rooms, but the family gathers in the house and starts to sing songs which they say enyimba za balongo, or they're specific kind of traditional songs, which I will say this is what I believe. They invoke the spirit of the dead. And this, I think, is what no one really wants to talk about. But here is the beauty of it. They invoke the spirit of the dead, that one that is stuck, that is lost, that is hovering around the home. Maybe it has gone off in its usual gallivants and is going to come back, but they call it back to say, come, let us sit in happiness, let us sit in singing and enjoyment, because we are about to free you. And so you will not see the spirit. It's not going to come and tap anyone. Like, you're not going to experience it. This is what people are afraid of. And this is some of the things that, some of the propaganda that we are told, so that we are afraid of these things. So the light will be turned off. And the reason why the light is turned off is more ceremonious, because at that time in the morning, the light should be off. So for us, the lights were turned off, and not every light. The living room light was off, but the security lights were on. The lights in other parts of the room were sort of flooding in, so we could see one another. We sing a few songs, and then the mujwa, that nephew, comes before dawn, and he ceremoniously knocks on the front door. And when he knocks, the head of the home says, "Anyoyo, who is that?" And then the mujwa says, "Nze omukeze." Omukeze is from the word okukera. Okukera is to wake up super early. So he's saying, I'm the early riser. I'm the one who has come in, basically to notify you that it is time. And when he does that, the head of the home opens the door. I don't know if it's only him supposed to open, or so he opens the door, and where the singing has been going on, and then the head of the home then ushers every single person in the house, and everyone must leave. Not a child should stay in bed. Everyone in that home comes together, and they all ceremoniously walk out. As they walk out, the head of the home says, Okufulumya olumbe lwa XYZ. So they say the name. So they say, I say their name, head of this home. I don't know if they actually say those words because I didn't hear them, but I sort of had the preparation. So the person is basically supposed to say their name, their full name, and say, I release out of this house the spirit of so and so, the olumbe. That spirit with all the negativity, all the confusion is freed and goes out. So the family then walks out. Everyone walks out together with the head of the home to the fireplace. They also say certain words. And those words are, I think, to sort of symbolize the actual cutting of that cord, that heavy cord that has kept that soul stuck in the home. And we had like small fish, not the silver fish, but then the next size of fish. They're called in Luganda enkeje. So he says these words, and then he says the word I remember, which I've had for a very long time, and I did not ever know where it came from or its significance. He says, and eyakwalula esiride. I cannot interpret it in words, but I sort of understand the meaning of it. It's like the last thing he says, eyakwalula esiride, and he throws the fish into the fire. And that is supposed to be a time of celebration because, this thing has been lifted now. The energy of this person that has been stuck in the home has been taken out and has been lifted and has been freed. Then the family goes out. I don't think you go back into the house immediately. You now go out to where the next function is supposed to be. That would be outside in the compound. So maybe you don't go back in. Again, disclaimer, I'm talking about what I saw, and sometimes some of these things are altered a bit to accommodate life today, to accommodate where we are, and so on and so forth. So it may change from the original practice. That's why I say, if there's anyone who has more information, richer information, I really implore you to share so that we can understand. But basically, that then frees the spirit. And I think the reason why you don't go back in is so that this spirit is not confused to say, oh, I see some other people still going back to the house, so let me go back. It sort of stays out and stays out. And this then brings us to the second part of the funeral rites, and that is going to be in the next video. Listen guys, if you've not subscribed, I ask you to please subscribe, because every time I put out this information, you will be notified. If you also click the bell button so that you're notified, but also if you like the information that I'm sharing and you click on it, then the algorithm moves it and finds other people who need to hear this information. So on to part 3 in the next video.